The sun was still shy. It peeked over the horizon, a soft blush on the dark canvas of night. David was already awake. He sat by the kitchen window. The old wooden chair creaked a familiar welcome. His hands cradled a warm mug. Steam rose, carrying the scent of coffee. A simple pleasure, a quiet start. He watched the light change. It crept across the dew-kissed grass. It touched the leaves of the old oak tree. Each morning, it was a private show. Just for him, it sometimes felt. He didn't think of big things then, not of yesterday's worries or tomorrow's demands, just the now. The house was still, a gentle hum from the refrigerator, the tick-tock of the grandfather clock in the hall. Sarah was still asleep upstairs. He pictured her there, her breathing soft and even. A small smile played on his lips. This was his time. Soon he heard a soft stirring, footsteps on the old wooden stairs, lighter than his own. Sarah appeared in the doorway, her eyes still soft with sleep, a gentle smile for him. "Morning," she whispered, her voice like a melody, a familiar, comforting tune. He smiled back, a wordless greeting. She moved to the coffee pot, poured herself a mug. The ritual was unspoken. Years had made it so. She added a splash of milk, just the way she liked it. He watched her, the way her hair fell, the comfortable slouch of her robe. These tiny details, they were everything. She came to the table, sat across from him. For a few moments, they just sipped. The silence was companionable, not empty, full of unsaid things, understanding, affection. The light now filled the kitchen more boldly. It danced in her hair, made her eyes sparkle. "Sleep well?" he finally asked. She nodded, a small, sleepy nod. The quiet of the kitchen slowly gave way. The sounds of the day began. Toast popping, the rustle of a newspaper, or more often now the glow of a tablet. They talked about small things, the weather forecast, a reminder about a Bill whose turn it was to walk the dog. These were the threads that wove their days together. David would get ready for his day. Sometimes he worked from home in his small study. Other days he went out into the world. Sarah had her own rhythms, her garden, her painting, her volunteer work. Their paths might diverge for a few hours, but they were always connected. An invisible string, a shared knowledge of the other's heart. It was a comfort. Before he left, or before she started her tasks, there was always a moment. A quick hug at the door, a soft kiss on the cheek. "Have a good day," one would say. "You too," the other replied. Simple words, but they carried weight. They carried love, a promise of return. The sun climbed higher. It cast different shadows now, longer then shorter. David might be focused on his work, a problem to solve, a deadline to meet. Sarah might be tending her roses, her hands in the earth, or perhaps lost in the colors on her canvas, creating beauty in her own quiet way. Each absorbed in their own world, yet they were not entirely separate. A thought might drift. He'd wonder what she was doing if her back was hurting from gardening. She might pause, brush a strand of hair from her face and think of him, hoping his day was going well, that the difficult client was being reasonable. These were silent echoes, love's quiet signals across the distance. Sometimes a text message, a small thinking of you, or a funny picture she saw online. He'd smile at his phone, a little lift in his day. She'd feel a warmth when his reply came. The afternoon could bring small challenges, a phone call with frustrating news, a project that wasn't going as planned. David might sigh, run a hand through his hair, the weight of it settling on his shoulders. Sarah, if she sensed it, wouldn't pry, not immediately. She knew his ways. She'd offer a cup of tea, a silent gesture of support. Or perhaps Sarah faced a small setback, a favorite vase accidentally broken, a painting that just wouldn't come right, a moment of disappointment. He would see it in her eyes, the slight droop of her shoulders. He wouldn't try to fix it with grand words, but maybe a gentle touch on her arm. "It's okay," he might say softly. "We can glue the vase, the painting will wait." Sometimes the friction was between them. A miscommunication, a difference of opinion on something small, the remote control, the dinner plans. These things happened in any life. A brief moment of tension, a sharpening of tones, but it rarely lasted long. One would soften, the other would meet them there, because their love was deeper, deeper than these surface ripples. They had learned to navigate these small currents with patience. The light began to change again. The harshness of the midday sun mellowed. It turned golden, then amber. Long shadows stretched across the lawn, a signal that the day was winding down. David would finish his work, close his laptop with a sigh of relief. Sarah would put away her gardening tools or clean her paintbrushes, a sense of completion. The anticipation of being together grew, not in an urgent, youthful way, but a quiet, comfortable expectation, like settling into a favorite armchair. One might start dinner, the clinking of pans, the scent of cooking food filling the house with warmth. The other might join in, chopping vegetables, setting the table. A shared, easy rhythm. They would talk about their day, not every detail, but the highlights, the small frustrations. He'd tell her about a difficult meeting. She'd describe a new bloom in her garden, listening, really listening. That was a gift they gave each other. It was about sharing the journey. Dinner was often simple, eaten at the kitchen table or sometimes on trays in the living room if there was a show they both liked. The food was good, but the company was better. They talked, they laughed, sometimes they ate in comfortable silence, each lost in their own thoughts, but together, always together. After dinner, the evening unfolded, perhaps a walk, if the weather was kind, hand in hand down their familiar street, watching the stars begin to appear. Or maybe they'd sit in the living room. She might read, he might listen to music. The soft glow of a lamp, the quiet turning of pages, the gentle notes of a melody, a peaceful coexistence. They didn't need constant entertainment or grand gestures. Their joy was found in these quiet moments, the shared presence, the deep, unspoken understanding. He knew the sound of her contented sigh. She knew the way he tapped his fingers when he was thinking. As the night deepened, the house grew quieter still. The sounds of the outside world faded. They would get ready for bed, a familiar routine, brushing teeth side by side, a small smile in the mirror. The day was ending, another one shared, another one cherished. In the dim light of the bedroom, they would talk a little more, soft whispers in the dark, about nothing in particular or about everything that mattered. Hopes, dreams, small worries. He would listen to her, she would listen to him. There was no judgment, only acceptance and love. He would reach for her hand, his fingers finding hers in the darkness, a simple touch, yet it spoke volumes. It said, "I'm here." It said, "You're not alone." It said, "I love you." Their love was not a blazing fire, not anymore, perhaps, the kind that burns fiercely then quickly fades. It was more like the steady light of the sun, reliable, warming, life-giving. It was the way the light fell in their kitchen each morning, softly, then with growing strength, illuminating their shared world, highlighting the beauty in the ordinary, the sacred in the simple. It was in the small gestures, the coffee poured just right, the knowing glance across a crowded room, the hand offered on a difficult day, the patience shown during moments of friction. These were the bricks that built their fortress, a fortress of love, strong enough to withstand life's storms, gentle enough to nurture their hearts, a quiet, powerful force. Through all of life's ups and downs, the joys that made them soar, the sorrows that brought them to their knees, they had each other, a constant, a comfort, this deep, quiet understanding. It lived in the spaces between words.